long is this gonna take? I gotta get to the spa.
It's showtime.
Who are some of your influences?
Beetlejuice.
Napoleon was a pal.
Beetlejuice.
Bieber, of course, for obvious reasons.
Beetlejuice.
The juice is loose.
I'm gonna make you so happy.
Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. What can be said about Beetlejuice Beetlejuice? Back from the dead and looking no worse than ever, and that's really saying something. For the second time in 2 years, Michael Keaton has brought back a long-thought-dead character from the grave. But unlike The Flash, this time it doesn't suck. The perfect film at the perfect time, kicking off the perfect holiday. Beetlejuice is one of my favorite films. Michael Keaton, one of my favorite actors. Hands down, my favorite Batman. And Halloween, my favorite holiday. This couldn't have gotten any better if I had dreamed it up myself. A sequel long in the making. Honestly, I didn't think we'd ever see it. And I was content with that, because we had the original. But this movie was great. And sure, you could say I'm biased. I don't mind. Go ahead. Say it. Say it. Say it. But that's okay, because I'm going to give a fair and balanced review just as I would with any other film. This movie was amazing! It was perfect, and anything you say to the contrary is wrong. And I know better than you, so shut up! There you go, guys. Go see the film, give them all your money. And at the price of a single matinee ticket, I know I did. Jesus Christ, that was expensive! $17 just to go see one movie in the middle of the day, surrounded by a bunch of weirdos who go to movies by themselves in the middle of the day. It was me. It was just me. But in all honesty, I will say this. I would never tell you guys to spend your hard-earned cash on something that I didn't believe in myself. I've said it time and time again. I have a whole laundry list of things that I think back up that claim. I'll tell you if I think something's bad and if I think it's good. This is one of those things. If you have any inkling to see this movie, go see it. It's well worth your time. It's well worth your money. That's my opinion. Take it or leave it. As always, a reminder. I don't like putting spoilers in my film reviews. I've spoiled a hell of a lot of TV shows, mostly because they're garbage, but I avoid doing it to the movies. So I'm going to do my absolute best to avoid it. Even though this isn't really one of those films that has big surprises and stuff like that, there are a couple. I don't want to ruin the fun for anybody. If you want to see spoilers, I'm sure there's plenty floating around out there. Go and watch those after mine, of course. I'm grateful that you're here. So, without further ado, I do want to talk about this film. That was stupid. I'm going to leave it in. So where should we start? I think because of the current climate of film, we should start with the most glaring question. Is this a true sequel, or is this just a money-hungry cash grab by a bunch of rich assholes looking for a check written with our nostalgia? And what I'll say is this. What the fuck was the question? I sure love hearing myself talk, don't I? At least that's what Sister Mary Jo always said. Beetlejuice Beetlejuice is a true sequel to the hit from 1988? Yeah, I'm sure I nailed it. There are what some of you would call member berries. A little key jangling, if you will. Those things are included in the film, but they are not done in a way that is over the top or cheapened in an attempt to draw you in. No, this is a film all its own, building on what came before. And it's very obvious that the one thing that this film has that a lot of these other remakes, prequels, sequels, or whatever don't have is that they don't have the original filmmaker. And if they do have their original filmmaker, they don't have Tim Burton, who still very much respects and enjoys his previous work. Yes, you heard me right, boys and girls. Tim Burton respects his work. There's a headline for you. He is a master at what he does. This isn't some other cheapened franchise reboot. This isn't Alien. This isn't Predator. This isn't Terminator. This isn't... Well, no. Star Wars doesn't count because George Lucas isn't included. But you get the idea. Tim Burton apparently isn't one of these filmmakers that wants to undo and then rebuild what came before. He wants to build upon. That is what sets this apart when it comes to sequels. Now, there were a couple of promises made going into this film, mostly by Michael Keaton, that I'm holding them to while watching it, because they're important. First, he said that Beetlejuice isn't overused. He wasn't in the first film a whole lot. He wasn't oversaturated. He's not a gimmick. He claims too much Beetlejuice could cause him to wear thin on the audience. I'm going to tell you right now, that statement was not true. He is, from almost start to finish, all over this film. Now, that being said, it's awesome. He doesn't wear thin. He doesn't wear thin at all. It doesn't become a gimmick. I don't even know why Michael Keaton felt the need to make that statement in the first place, because they had nothing to fear about using him as much as they did. I think it was awesome. I think it was great. It was fun. Every scene that he was in the original film, he added to it. He brought an energy to it that took it to the next level. That doesn't change the more he's in it. More Beetlejuice, please. He does a fantastic job playing that character. He did back then, and he did today. All right, that second point that Michael Keaton brought up, I'm going to hit on it. I'm going to come back to it. But since we're talking about Michael Keaton's performance as Beetlejuice right now, let me just touch on the other actors and their performances. I can't think of one weak link. But I want to specifically talk about the returning actors for a minute. Obviously, Michael Keaton, we talked about it. Catherine O'Hara, phenomenal job. She picks up the character where she left off. She's funny as hell throughout the film. She's endearing, which is really telling of her growth as a person. And her chemistry with Winona Ryder hasn't missed a beat. They nail the formerly estranged stepmother-stepdaughter dynamic. And Winona Ryder, congratulations, you still pull off that fucking haircut. I mean, you went for it. I honestly don't think it was a wig. She committed fully and got that haircut. That's 100% true, and I won't hear another word about it. And the fact that Lydia hasn't grown past that seemingly stupid haircut that she sports speaks to her character as well. I know that's a weird thing to say. It seems like a stretch, but trust me, it's true. She can't move past her own past. Past her past? Yeah, sure, why not? And that hair is very representative of it. Even after all these years, Winona Ryder can still be that creepy, disturbed little girl glue that holds a film together. All right, those are the big three that have returned. I can't really think of any others off the top of my head that came back. No Alec, no Gina, no Jeffrey Jones. Oh, Jeffrey Jones. Let me take a moment to say, fuck that guy. If you don't know why, trust me. Fuck that fucking fucker, Jeffrey fucking Jones. And the movie agrees. They claymate him and kill him off, but they extend his death scene for quite a while, almost killing him several times until his character is finally bitten in half by a shark. The rest of the film, his character spends walking around without an upper half, spurting blood. I wish he was actually bitten in half by a fucking shark. Well, maybe one day. There's still time. Enough about the returning three. Everybody does a phenomenal job. Jenna Ortega is a fucking beast. I love her. I can't think of a single project I've seen her in that I haven't enjoyed her performance. She's a wonderful actress, and she fit right in with everybody else in the cast. Great job. Monica Bellucci, who I think would make a phenomenal Morticia Addams, was good. She was more a vehicle for story, so she wasn't in it a whole lot, but even with the limited amount she had, she did well, especially when you take into account how few lines she had. She was left to really just act in order to convey her character. Oh, and oh my god, how could I forget William Dafoe? Fucking awesome. Amazing character. He plays an actor who played a cop who took his role way too seriously and died because of it. Now he's in charge of the underworld's police force, and it is funny. They have a running gag throughout the film with a cup of coffee and his secretary. I'm told it's a very police thing to drink so much coffee. Who knows? Maybe that's not true, but it's funny as hell. Alright, I promised I wouldn't forget what Michael Keaton's second point was, and I absolutely did. God damn it. What was it? Oh, I remember. Okay. His second point was that they did not change Beetlejuice's character to be more, less colorful. Beetlejuice is who he is. As Michael said, he's a force of nature. Politically correct may have its place, but it isn't a dead dirtbag trying to force a woman into an unholy marriage. And on this promise, they delivered. They kept Beetlejuice the dirty demon with a bad mouth and provocative thoughts, and even threw in some lines to highlight the fact that they were aware of what they were doing. Alright, I think that's enough about the actors and their portrayal of the characters. I've pretty much exhausted my love for them. So let's move on to the plot of the film. It is, in fact, a carry-on of the original Beetlejuice. Still obsessed with Lydia, trying to find a way to get back into the real world, he wants nothing more than to be a real boy again. Or whatever he would be. That's his whole deal in the first one. Nothing has changed over the 30 plus years between these two films. Lydia now has a daughter. They're estranged. This film is just as much about their relationship as it is about Lydia dealing with the trauma of her past, Beetlejuice, and coming to terms with those things, Beetlejuice. We also get an origin story on Beetlejuice himself, where he came from, how he died. Is that needed? No. Generally, I would probably think that it's a bad idea to include. This isn't the Rings of Power, and we don't need to know how Mount Doom was made. This, rather, is done as a joke. Did we need it? No, absolutely not. But it gives us a little push that we need to get the story really going. Gives us our main villain, and it's fun. It's done in a way that you know it's just a gag. That's it. They're not taking themselves seriously here. And I think that's what sets it apart from these other origins of things that we just don't need. And that's it. That's the plot. Very, very simple, but executed, in my opinion, quite well. It all comes together. It's got the funny moments. It's got the dramatic moments, the heartfelt moments. It's got the, I wouldn't say scary moments, but definitely some surprises in that spooky ambiance. Nice and simple. Very straightforward. Obviously, I'm simplifying it, boiling it down to its most basic form as not to ruin anything. But it's fun, it's interesting, there's a couple surprises along the way. Thought it was going in one direction. It didn't, it went in a different direction. Nothing crazy, this isn't some Inception type twist, but, enough to keep it interesting. Another thing that was promised by Michael Keaton, and in fact Tim Burton, was the use of practical effects. Not an overuse of CG. I think they absolutely came through with that. The practical effects were plentiful. There was obviously some fiddling with CG in post-production. One scene that I'm thinking of in particular where it stands out is Monica Bellucci's introduction scene. It's a little wonky at times, but nothing I wasn't able to get over. Plus, Tim Burton's kind of wonky and weird, so it fits in a strange way. I think they did a great job overall. The actors had something they could actually interact with. They had some scenery that they could chew apart. And I think that alone deserves recognition because it just doesn't happen anymore. I've seen with the humor some mixed reviews. I will tell you, I think that it lands. I thought it was funny. I was chuckling out loud, which I don't usually do. I like to sit there and not interact in any way with anyone or anything. Just sit there quietly, minding my own business. But I was actually chuckling out loud a little bit. Maybe you'll agree with me. Maybe you'll agree with the other people. I personally felt that it hit very much like the original film, and I'm okay with that. I felt the film hit its mark. I love it. I'm going to take my son to go see it. He's been absolutely dying, asking me when it's coming out. And he's only 9. People are going to look at us and judge me and say things like, "Are you out of your fucking mind?" Oh, what can I say? He's nuts. It'll be fine. He loves the first one, and I know that he'll love this one too. And if it's good enough for him, it's good enough to recommend to you, which I do. If you see the film, please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I love hearing your feedback. Now, just so I'm not 100% biased, I do want to throw out there that there are some updates to style, to music. It's not a one-to-one comparison. It's not that 80s style anymore. This isn't Batman, Batman Returns, Sleepy Hollow. There are updates. It's been modernized a little bit. It's still got that base of a Tim Burton film. It still feels like a Tim Burton film, but there are some updates. Not to humor, not to politics, anything like that. I can also guarantee you that if you didn't like the first one, you won't like this one. I hope that you found this review helpful and interesting, and at the very least, not a total waste of time. Thank you guys, and I will see you in the next one. Oh, and happy Halloween!
I got a question for you. Who the hell are you?